Hey everybody, it's Brooks here, Senior Pastor, First Baptist Church of the Islands. Thank you for joining me for today's Monday Focus. So I remember when I was in college, I was up in Athens, Georgia, at the University of Georgia, and I was riding across town. If I remember correctly, I was on Baxter and was riding with a buddy of mine in an old car that he drove, that the seatbelts didn't work. He had them like tied up in a knot, and we're driving, headed back towards campus. And a big giant car pulled out in front of us, making a left-hand turn right in front of us. And it was as though everything began to move into slow motion. And of course, no matter what you hoped for at that point, you were not going to avoid an accident. And I remember we slammed into that car, and I slammed into the windshield and the dashboard, and a trip to the ER later and some stitches in my head up here. I had a new respect, right? A new respect for being in a motor vehicle. And if you've ever had the unfortunate experience of being in a car accident, what typically happens is the next time you get into a vehicle, you are more careful than you've ever been. You're apprehensive. You kind of don't even want to really be behind the wheel. You prefer not to have to drive if you don't have to, at least for a little while until that wears off. And that's the scary thing. It wears off and you kind of get back into the norm. For us as Christians, sometimes that happens as it relates to the fact that we have been redeemed. I spoke on Sunday about the beauty of redemption, Ephesians chapter 1, verse 7, and how it reminds us that in Him, in Jesus, we have redemption through His blood, the forgiveness of our trespasses by the mercies of His grace. For us as Christians, the real risk and the real danger is that if we're not careful, we can lose that healthy appreciation for exactly what Jesus did for us to purchase our redemption and to make us right with God. That we required Him. It was required for Him. We didn't require it, but it was required for Him to die in our place if we had any hope of being made right with God. And He did it, and He did it willingly, and He did it because of His grace and His mercy and His love for us. And yet there are times when we can just sail through our lives. We get distracted by our responsibilities. We get distracted by the things that we're in the midst of, things that we're chasing, things that we're wanting to accomplish. And if we're not careful, our worship can become very routine, and we begin to lose sight of the precious gift that God has given us through the redemption that comes in our faith in Jesus. I hope you'll take a moment today and that you'll focus this week on the beauty of what God has done for you through the redemption that is yours, that you were a slave to sin and God bought you back by the shed blood of Jesus, and that He did it by His grace and His mercy and His love. And I hope that you'll focus on that this week, and that as we focus on it and set our sights towards Easter, that we'll be grateful and that we'll live our lives in surrender and submission to Him for being a kind of a God that would do that for us, that He would redeem us at all the cost to Himself, where we can experience just the sheer beauty and the grace of being made right with God through forgiveness in Jesus. For you, I hope you'll keep that on your mind and on your heart this week. For each of us, that we'll do that and that we'll share that message with those who need to hear. That's your Monday Focus. God bless you. Have a great week.